As to defending the patent, I'm very capable of defending that IP. Very capable. Everything's already in place. We're ready to go. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tap some people on the shoulder before the end of the year, mostly public companies, and we'll see if they pay attention. So when I tap public companies on the shoulder and I say that I'd just like to make you aware that you're using my IP, and if that IP is representative of a significant amount of their revenue, what is that company supposed to do?
Pay you.
If you know the SEC's rules, and I'm right that I have a claim to the intellectual property that you're making billions of dollars of revenue with, now you have a beef with your shareholders and your public company.
If you want to see more videos and interviews like this from influential people in tech, finance, and sports, subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit the bell to be alerted. And go a step further and join the YouTube and membership area for early releases of videos like this. I'm out of here. Ha!
It's your boy Crypto Blood, and welcome to another Kicking It session. Today, I've got the legendary Reggie Middleton on with me. We're going to talk a lot of things. We got to hash out some of the contention I think he has towards me with the video I did with my man Max Kaiser, and talk about what his issues were with that. We also want to talk about what's going on with Veritasium, more specifically Reggie Middleton, because he just was granted by the U.S. Patent Office the patent over essentially what you want to call peer-to-peer markets, what he's calling the DeFi world, what we know as today, the DeFi world. So this is big. This has not been covered. I definitely got to give a shout out to my man Rice Crypto for dropping that article to me on the last live stream that I was on his channel. I didn't even know about it myself. So we need to discuss, you know, why this is getting no coverage. We need to discuss the future of Veritasium, the future of the Veri token. I'm going to get into all that on today's episode. Let me bring in Reggie really quickly. Reggie, what's going on, man? Long time no see. Actually, last time I saw you, you were going back and forth with one of those Hexians on the Gentlemen of Crypto show. That was crazy. What's going on with you, man? Happy holidays.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy holidays to you as well.
I guess we can kick it off, man. I kind of want to just start with the tweet that the thread that started between you and I on Twitter the other day. Got an extensive amount of activity from that thread from supporters of yours and people who don't really support you. I'm not going to say names, but what was your issue with, you know, one thing you pointed out in that thread was like, hey, let's talk about what me and Max talked about on the video from a couple of years ago when he came to Detroit. What was the issue with that video that found wrong or incorrect or whatnot?
Well, it's not about wrong or incorrect. It's just, you know, I consider you and Max to be allies, and the tone didn't seem very ally-like or accurate. But, you know, you're full-grown men. You're, you know, both entitled to your own opinion. So, you know, it's not like my feelings were hurt, but I was a little disappointed. But, you know, it is what it is, right?
In what regard? What was disappointing about it?
Okay, well, I don't have it memorized, but
okay,
you know, for the most part, it seemed like you were both saying you don't understand what Veritasium was about. You both know me, so you can ask. And Max has had me on at least maybe a dozen times, at least a half a dozen times. There's at least an hour, 2 hours worth of footage and video. So to say you don't understand it, you know, sounded as a surprise. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you said that the token would have been useless. You know, that's still up in the air. There's a lot of legal ambiguities and economic ambiguities, but the concept is very, very strong. As time progresses and we all have the benefit of hindsight, you can see where the concept is extremely strong. As a matter of fact, those who follow me have said that the version of our white paper, which would be the patent application, is probably the most seminal thing in the industry since or including the Satoshi white paper. So
okay, that may be a little hyperbolic in my opinion, but we'll get into that because there are some things I agree with you in how they're not covering this. This is insane. I mean, I've never seen any more blatant, I don't know what you want to call it, racism, whatever you want to call it, pull a race card, we can. That's how I feel about the situation, that you're not getting any coverage. You had to write your own article on Zero Hedge to even get that coverage.
It's bad, right?
It's horrible. It's horrible. So, but we'll get to that. I want to get to that in a minute. But back to the whole like Max Kaiser. Yeah, Max Kaiser. I think you guys were very good friends. I support you. Have supported you. Just because I don't agree with every aspect of how you want to run the project or the company or how you decide to implement things, by no means I'm not a fan, a supporter, etc., etc. I think my thing was, you pivoted in the use case of the very token a couple of times.
We have to be like, you're in the industry, okay? So you have to be smart and grown-ups. I never pivoted, not once. Okay.
So the move to have Very be gold backed was not the initial use case of the token.
It's part of the peer-to-peer concept. So if you read the patent, you'd see where the ability to tokenize assets, to trade value, is all part of the intellectual property. But the gold-backed tokens were a result of the SEC telling me I had to shut down what I was building before then.
So it was a pivot.
No, it was not a pivot. Put it this way: you're speeding. No, you're not speeding. You're driving in a 30-mile-per-hour zone, and you're doing 25 miles per hour. You get pulled over by the police. They give you a ticket for speeding, and they say if you do it again, you're going to jail. So you decide to go 15 miles per hour. Are you pivoting?
Yeah, you are. You are, Reggie. You're pivoting.
So if you consider that a pivot, more power to you. Okay, but that's not a realistic way of looking at things. Everything that I did is covered under that patent right now. Everything from the gold-backed tokens to the Vader to everything.
I think that the other issue I had, and I think what Max was talking about as well, I can't speak for him. I can only really speak for myself. But, the whole gold-back scenario or proposition for a cryptocurrency, to me, it just is an oxymoron almost. Meaning, cryptos are supposed to be cryptographically verified through math and nothing else. You add a gold or any other precious metal to that equation, and I've seen a number of them. You're not the only one that's done it. I'm not, saying that you're out here trying to sell snake oil, but I'm just saying all of those projects to me, I'm like, well, damn, it's not really a need for. You're adding counterparty risk when you add in a physical piece to that component and backing it to a crypto.
And that is true. But what else are you adding?
You have to tell me.
Okay, so if you're looking at one side of the equation only, so and listen, nothing. I have no personal beef with you, right? I just thought that the video was whack, to be truthful, but no personal beef. Okay, same thing with Max, right? You're adding counterparty risk. What is the reason to add counterparty risk by backing ephemeral, potentially volatile asset with gold? Why would you do that? I'm gonna walk you through it, trying to let you, come to the conclusion on your own. Why would somebody do that?
I don't know. I mean, I really don't understand why you would back it by a crypto, other than maybe transferring ownership.
No, you do it to give it stability. Okay, Bitcoin's primary weakness is volatility. Okay, now volatility is not bad. Volatility is not bad per se. As a matter of fact, if you are a long-only investor, even if you're an amateur investor, you would welcome volatility as long as it's volatility to the upside. So Bitcoin could go from 49,000, 46,000 to 193,000. That would drive the volatility to get it through the roof. You wouldn't mind that, though, would you? You like that. Okay.
Right.
When it goes down, you do just like that. When it goes up and down unpredictably, it gets very, very difficult to handle, particularly if you're going to use it as a method of exchange.
So you're saying backing it by gold smooths out that volatility?
It almost flattens it, okay? And it flattens it with something that's had 5,000 years of history. Okay?
Yeah, but gold, but
roughly, 10 years of history? 11, 12?
Yeah, but Bitcoin, to that point, is only 11 years old or whatnot.
Right.
It's going to be volatile, and that volatility should even out or taper out over time.
It evens out and tapers out in 25 minutes when you back it with gold. And that's the reason. You see, there's a reason for everything. Now, I understand you're saying it adds counterparty risk. It does. but it also eliminates volatility risk.
I think the volatility is twofold. As it matures, the market gets more used to it has more historical price to reference, and then on top of that, there are less coins available every halving. So that should taper off and slow down the volatility of the coin.
But you're making the case for the gold backing. You're admitting there's volatility.
Oh, I know. Yeah, Bitcoin is very volatile.
Okay, so
but I don't think backing it by gold is a step backwards, in my opinion. How
is it a step backwards? So, which is more valuable, one Bitcoin or one Bitcoin backed by gold? If you have to think about that, dude, we have a problem. We have a fundamental problem. If you need to think about it.
No. One Bitcoin backed by gold is more valuable because it's $2,000 more valuable than a Bitcoin.
Okay. Hence,
you get what I'm saying?
So hence, it's more valuable.
Yes, it is. No,
you can't
no, man. Listen, guys, this guy Reggie he knows how to talk, boy.
Those facts are rough, aren't they? Facts hurt, don't they?
No, man, Reggie.
Math and economics, my brother. You know.
Oh my God, this guy. So
I agree with him. That hurt. Listen,
no. Go ahead.
Wait. One more time, just for the audience sake.
Yeah.
Which is more valuable, one Bitcoin or one Bitcoin backed by gold?
One Bitcoin backed by gold.
Okay, so that's the end of that discussion. So let's move on to the next topic.
You guys in the comments, let me know what you think about that. This guy is trying to play some financial trickery on me. But
if it's financial trickery, you take all your Bitcoin backed by gold, you give me the gold part.
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Oh man. So look, I want to talk about more so this video was all about Veritasium, yourself, this historic, in my opinion, historic moment in crypto where you essentially have a patent, and I'll let you explain it all, but the article out of Zero Hedge really explains this, that you were granted essentially the Aboriginal DeFi patent. Explain this. I knew, and many people who follow you knew that you were going through this. You've been working on this for many years now. So can you just explain, this whole process and where you stand with this patent?
Well, the patent was issued December 7th. It was applied for in May of 2014. So that was a pretty rough ride. You're talking 7.5, almost 8 years. We also got a patent in Japan, granted this time last year, December 2020. So that's a patent in the world's first and third largest economies, and the first and second largest crypto economies from an enterprise perspective. And the patent covers peer-to-peer capital markets, basically the low trust or zero trust transfer of conditional value. In simpler words, you can transfer value through Bitcoin or Ethereum, etc., from one wallet to another. So that's a regular transfer. If you transfer it contingent upon another source, such as a data source or another value, that is in essence covered by the patent. If you use asymmetric key pairs, basically if you use a wallet. Okay, I consider it to be a very, very, very strong patent. A little earlier in the interview, I said followers allege that this is the most seminal event since the Satoshi white paper, and you said that seems a little hyperbolic. Yeah. And the best way to do this, just like I walked you through the.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
No, I'm gonna let you do all the talking. So my job is to teach. Okay, so I don't want to do talking. I want you to think it through. Okay, what makes you think it's hyperbolic?
Because
before you start, I didn't say this. Quite a few other people said it. But after I thought about it, they have a point. But let's see.
What did they say?
They said it was the most seminal event since the Satoshi white paper, and or possibly including white paper. So why would you think that's a hyperbolic?
It is because to me it's indefensible. Like, you can't fully defend just because you have a patent. Now you have to defend that patent, right? It doesn't really mean much in the world of decentralized finance. Maybe CeFi, as you stated, I think you would definitely do well in that realm, possibly. I mean, it seems peer to peer. I don't know how that plays into it. But I would say I think you have a better path of success on the CeFi road. But the DeFi world with DAOs and the way we're moving away from institutions or centralized organizations using or implementing DeFi or finance, right? So how would you protect or go after individuals that are infringing on your patent? I just don't see it being something realistic.
Okay, so you're mixing and conflating topics and concepts. Okay. Think of the patent as a white paper. Okay, they're saying that the patent as a white paper is at least as profound or more profound than the Satoshi white paper. Nobody had to defend the Satoshi white paper. So, I understand the point you're making, but you're conflating two issues. So as academic or economic concept, they're saying the patent is important to the industry. Okay, you're saying that, well, you have to defend it in order for it to have value, which I disagree with that essentially, but I do understand the point. So from an intellectual perspective, they're saying that the patent is up there with the Satoshi white paper. Do you agree with? I don't know if you read it. The patent is actually very, very
crypto blood don't like being wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm stubborn, but
you don't like being wrong. You might as well end this interview and move forward.
Oh my God.
You don't like being wrong.
I have to admit, from that perspective, yes, I see where you're coming from. As the document,
it's them, but
the document itself is definitely a watershed moment, and I don't understand, why there has been. Have you seen any other coverage than the article that was on Zero Hedge?
We're going to get to that. The article on Zero Hedge was written by me.
I know.
That doesn't even count. And Zero Hedge, you put it on the front page, by the way. It got noticed because I'm the one who tweeted it out. But we're going to get to that. We're going to do this step by step. So your other point as to defending the patent, I'm very capable of defending that IP. Very capable. Everything's already in place. We're ready to go. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tap some people on the shoulder before the end of the year, mostly public companies, and we'll see if they pay attention. Here's another factor. I'm very different from the typical ICO technical operation. I have a very, very strong bent, and I'm a natural at finance, investment, valuation, and strategy.
Yes, for sure. Been following you well before you even got into crypto. I know that very well. Yep.
So when I tap public companies on the shoulder and I say that I'd just like to make you aware that you're using my IP, and if that IP is representative of a significant amount of their revenue, what is that company supposed to do?
Pay you.
30th. No, they're supposed to file it in S1.
S1?
It's supposed to let the SEC know that we have this notice. Okay. Now, would these big public companies do that? Before you answer the question, they have the same mindset.
They have to.
They have the same mindset. They should. They have the same mindset that the big media companies have. And that's why you haven't seen me in any of the big magazine any of the big industry rags, etc. So whatever prevents them, right, from not reporting the biggest thing since the Satoshi white paper or the white paper itself, it's probably going to prevent a lot of public companies from doing what they're supposed to do.
So what are you going to do in retaliation to that fact?
Retaliation is a bait word. So, I'm not going to retaliate against anybody unless you're going to outright attack me. There's no retaliation.
So what is your counter move to the fact that they may just simply ignore this event, this patent, and not do the S1 filing with the SEC?
Well, that's very, very dangerous. If you ignore the SEC's rules, then now you have a beef with the SEC, okay? And if you ignore the SEC's rules, and I'm right that I have a claim to the intellectual property that you're making billions of dollars of revenue with, now you have a beef with your shareholders and your public company. Now you're opening up
I'm going to put my cryptonomist hat on. I think you're going to become a very wealthy man from this. Because
half my life has been dirt poor, so it's not about wealth.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying that is, to me, a fact, because you now have something. If one doesn't do it, I mean, there are going to be some that are going to comply and say, hey, okay, we're going to, cut you in the revenue and retro pay you and all that stuff for using your technology or your patents. How does that go with the patent? Like it was filed or it was approved a couple like last week or so, right?
In the U.S., it was approved months ago.
Okay, months ago.
But it was officially published on the 7th of December.
7th of December. So does that mean that any company in the realm of peer-to-peer markets, DeFi, do they just have to pay from that day going forward?
It all depends.
Because you have a provisional patent that starts before you have a patent.
Right. Each case is different, but
okay.
That some people have a decent amount of liability built up. Okay. But let's take a look at the patent. Last night I was up late. Okay. And it all depends on what the patent covers. It's not easy reading, but the description is plain on its face. You read the description, you're like, wow, that's Ripple on-demand liquidity, or that's the Lightning Network, or that's the sidechain. All this was envisioned and actually implemented. Most of it was actually implemented in code and ran as a beta back in 2014. We're talking a good 5 or 6 years before the so-called inventors of this stuff. Last night, there are so many entities who are infringing from my perspective that it's becoming very laborious to create the infringement reports. So I said, let's do this at the protocol level. The Lightning Network infringes at the protocol level. So when you infringe at the protocol level, you don't have
But who do you go after? See, that's what I mean. Who do you go after from the Lightning Network? Blockstream?
Do you know anybody using the Lightning Network for profit?
No, what I'm saying is
we're gonna walk through it.
I don't even believe in the light. I think it's a bunch of bull.
I know, but
whatever.
If anybody's using it for profit, then they should have a conversation with us. Okay.
But you're going to have, that's what I'm saying. You're going to have a conversation. It's going to have to be initiated on your end, your company's end. No one's going to voluntarily come talk to you and say,
yeah, people who are smart will voluntarily come. Okay. Depending on how tight the infringement is, you have two choices. You could wait for somebody steps to you, or you could have a conversation outright and be proactive. You know, this is simply an expense. You run a crypto company. Suppose you run Uniswap, right? Uniswap has to pay for servers, okay? Is the fact they have to pay Amazon for their AWS hosting, is that going to drive them out of business?
No, not at all.
Okay, so expensive business. Same thing here. It's just that. But if you choose not to pay Amazon and you have all your content on their servers and they cut those servers off, then you have a problem.
But that's the difference that's the difference in this space, Reggie, and you know that. You're a smart individual. You can't go cut off the blockchain, right?
I don't need to cut off the blockchain. Put it this way: in Japan, do you know the average patent litigation trial length is on average?
No, you know I don't know that.
8 months. 8 months. Okay, so there is no stretching it out. There's no trying to overpower somebody with capital. 8 months is the average.
What about in the United States, though?
The United States is very different, because in the United States, you have companies who base a large amount of their revenue stream on this. Okay, so there are a lot of companies who won't be able to do business if there's an IP threat. Suppose I'm not going to name a company in particular, but you have a technology that you allegedly created, and you license it out to American Express and MasterCard and Visa and central banks. And
sounds like Ripple to me.
Just forget the name. Just you license this out. And then there's an IP threat that says, an IP challenge that says you're using our technology, right, extensively, violating multiple claims. Do you really think you could talk a company into building a $4 or $5 billion revenue stream on top of your code when your code is alleged to be infringing? Who's going to build a house on that shaky ground? No,
they're not. They're going to pay. They're going to pay you for the licensing or usage of your patent.
But they're either going to fight or they're going to pay. Okay, and depending on how much you're going to pay, it doesn't make sense fighting. Okay, and a lot of the infringements are strong. So fight if you wish. You know, you're not going to win. But I'm not a patent troll. I built this stuff first. You know, again, it's not getting the media attention, but I don't really care. I built it first. I don't have.
You should care. No, you should care.
You know,
and I know it has to hurt. I know you put on a strong, poker face, but man, if I were in your shoes, I would be so pissed off, man. I mean, I do have to commend you for keeping calm. I mean, I know you have to, but it is disturbing.
It's America, okay, and America is changing. You know, if you do a Google search on Black inventors in the U.S., okay,
yes, very, very, yep.
You will have your mind blown of the things that were invented by Black people.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't learn about it in school. You didn't learn about it in college. You simply don't know.
Right.
Look up what the real McCoy means. Right. The real McCoy.
Benjamin Banneker. I mean, the list goes on and on. Right.
So there's a long history of not getting credit where credit's due. I don't need credit. Okay. What I really want to do, my goal is not making a lot of money, not getting a lot of credit. I want to change the way business is done in the world, and I want that 9-year-old girl in Nairobi, who's a mathematical genius, right, to be able to take advantage of it and outtrade that Goldman Sachs prop desk trader, simply because she's better at trading commodities than he is. Okay, with a true peer-to-peer system, she can actually do that. That's considered unheard of until now. I spent not all night, but a couple of hours last night, because there were so many companies that were infringing. I said, let me try this on a protocol level. So I did it with Lightning Network. Then I started going through Ethereum. Our patent predates Ethereum by over a year. So I'm about 70% through. So far, so good. It looks good. If I finish, then Ethereum, if you use Ethereum, you infringe on the patent. Period. Do you see the power here?
I see the power, but I don't see in that case. You got me on going to these Fortune 500 companies or publicly traded companies. I get that. Right. That's low hanging fruit, in my opinion, to a certain extent. Again, I think the landscape for defending a patent is drawn out in the United States years. I've seen. So I'm just wondering, that was my thing on Twitter. Are you going to have the funds to
do it for years? So trust me, I can do it.
Okay.
Just like I was able to get the patent, I was able to come up with ideas. You know, everything's already in place. So I'm ready to litigate for a decade if that need be.
Okay.
But that's not reality though, because the way a lot of the larger players are situated, you can't do business.
Right. No, I understand.
Right. You can't do business with that hanging over your head.
Right.
So your full business would be litigating a patent. A prudent business manager or executive wouldn't take that route. And if you do, then let's do it. But I don't want to sue and litigate. You know, I simply want, to do proper business and have control over my property and assets, just like everybody else does.
Yeah, no, this, so yeah, I understand that point, but the route that you're trying to take, which I think you shouldn't even waste your energy on, personally, is going after the blockchains and the Lightning networks and people who run on it, and
going after, again, that's like clickbait.
Okay.
But anything, they came after me, possibly inadvertently, because I understand if they didn't know.
Yeah,
but,
they didn't know.
I'm letting you.
Hell, people still don't know, and you got the patent now, and nobody knows. So of course they couldn't have known.
Or trust me, a lot of people who should know. They're not.
Yeah.
If you go
in business, you have your attorneys do a patent search, and you'll see provisionals already in there and all that. Yes, I understand.
It's not just business. If you go through Twitter, there are groups in Bitcoin Maximus type groups and other groups, and you can see them talking amongst each other. We are purposely not going to even mention or tag Reggie because we don't want him to have an audience. Okay, but I have a decent audience of myself. Take all my properties. I have a couple 100,000 followers, subscribers, and they're real. Okay, so but that works to my benefit because the longer you ignore it, the deeper the IP gets.
Yes, I'm gonna say this right now. You're definitely gonna most likely be a billion. I know you don't care about this, but just how this is setting up, you're gonna be a billionaire just off of the patent alone. The value of that is so huge. I definitely see you benefiting greatly financially from this. So, kudos to you being ahead of the curve on that.
I suffer greatly financially from being who I am. So if I could suffer from it, I should better benefit from it. But it's not about,
I
again, it's
know,
not about,
I
you
know,
know,
I understand that, but I just want people, I want the people watching to understand how big this is from a financial standpoint for you as an individual, but also in the blockchain space as well. This is big news, and it should be definitely should be out there a bit more.
So let's discuss that in detail. But before that, I want to
Okay.
address your point, and then we go to why it's not. And most people should be able to guess why it's not publicized, but we'll walk through that. So you say I shouldn't go after blockchain company, and I say go after is the wrong terminology. When you say go after, that makes me look like an aggressor and make somebody else look like a victim, and that's not the way it works. You're sitting in your home, I'm assuming. So 4 or 5 people go to your home, they move in, they kick up their feet in the furniture, they start cooking food, and they live there for a couple of years. You want them to either pay rent or to leave. Are you going after them?
No.
Okay, so exactly.
Well, they wouldn't even be able to get to that point because I would have gone after them prior to them kicking their feet up in my car. But that's a whole nother conversation. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
So now whether I should, and I've talked to other people who actually have, crypto pants as well, a decent portfolio. And they say, well, you shouldn't sue such and such. But I fought long and hard, my SEC trials and the smearing of my reputation and my name, the taking of all my personal assets, all my business assets, on et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not going to get into the particulars because it's not safe for me to do that. But I fought long and hard. I invented this. I created it. I deserve to get paid for my idea. So we have other entities, guys who are part of the club that I'm not part of, and they're able to pull, $16.5 billion a month regularly with a triple-digit growth rate, making plenty of money. Am I supposed to allow them to use my idea to make that money while I can't?
No.
No, it's not the way this works, okay?
No.
And if I decide to actually do something about it, that is not me going after anybody, okay? That's me simply claiming my own property.
Right.
Okay. And I'm not trying to put anybody out of business unless they're direct competitors with me. If you're going to compete with me directly, come up with your own ideas. Don't use mine. Okay. So saying I shouldn't go after, this swap or that lender, et cetera, when they're using my property and they don't get a Wells notice from the SEC. They get to sit down with regulators and work things out beforehand, while I don't get these meetings. I don't get to do that because I'm not part of that club. Okay. They have a certain amount of capital and access that I don't have. I'm a full-grown man. I'm a big boy. Okay. But on the intellectual property side, I have access and I have capital that they don't have. So they take advantage using their resources, and I do the same. That's what business is. Okay.
Right.
And I'm happy to license to almost anybody who's willing to license. Unless you sue me or try to do something nefarious to file, I take that personally. So I don't want to do business with those type of people.
Are you working on going on a media circuit to have this be more known? Meaning,
this concept is about removing the gatekeepers. The fact that you have probably the biggest news in all of crypto, and not one major crypto entity has ran it. As a matter of fact, if you look at those major crypto entities and you Google my name or search my name, you'll see they've only ran negative articles with me and no positive articles.
Yep.
That's gatekeeping. I'm not going to call out any particular names, and it's horrible business to go to do battle with media outlets because they have a microphone. But,
Right.
It is what it is, this game.
Yeah, if you guys take a look on the screen, you'll see on CoinGecko, they still have this Securities and Exchange Commission has filed charges against Reggie Middleton, blah, blah, blah. And I want to get to that whole situation in a second, too. But, yeah, go ahead.
So you see they have it on CoinGecko. They have it on CoinMarketCap. But if you go and Google Ripple or XRP, you don't see it. Go Google EOS or Block One, you don't see that. Kick, Tron, it's ridiculous. So basically,
I never even thought about that. Like Ripple is in the biggest.
Exactly. But you see Ripple.
Oh no, they have it. They have it up there on CoinGecko at least.
Oh, okay. Well, they changed their mind because that's the first. They didn't have it up last week. Okay. So, and that's neither here or there.
Yeah.
I have a conversation. I had a conversation to be had with CoinMarketCap's parent company. I'm confident that they're infringing. I have, the proof sitting, and we have a conversation with everybody. But to pretend that this is somehow a fair marketplace is ridiculous.
Okay? Yeah, it is.
You're being very, very unrealistic. And I'm not going to pick a fight about it because it is what it is.
Yeah, so I want to just talk about the token, and that's another thing that I've been, not attacked. I have been attacked by your minions, if I can call them that. you got minions out there, man.
I have people who appreciate the struggle. And
that's good. That's good. I was being funny.
Yeah, I understand. So the people who follow me, I have to admit, are extremely diverse. Politically, racially.
That's true. Yeah, they're very diverse.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing that I was trying to explain after the whole SEC shakedown, and you had to give. They took the 98 million tokens back. There was only 2 million in float right now publicly. What I was saying was that at this point, from the paperwork, you cannot work you or Veritasium cannot work within the digital asset market. That means that you can no longer.
That's not what the paperwork says.
Well, they said, okay, so is this statement about Veritasium CEO permanently barred from conducting future offerings of digital securities? Is that not true?
Okay, first of all, there's this thing called primary sources. If you're going to do research, you have to use primary sources, right? Which means you're not going to use the article.
Well, no, I did look at I looked at the document, the SEC document, and it did state that.
Okay, so I did. What that states is digital securities. What you said was digital asset. Okay, so two different things. As a matter of fact, I'm not a lawyer, but I don't know what digital securities are. So what are digital securities? Oh, Ripple doesn't know what they are either. And accordingly, Inman doesn't seem to know what they are either, at least according to Ripple's attorneys.
Right.
And according to Ripple's attorneys, the SEC's employees don't know what they were because they were trading in.
So let me ask you: do you think this Ripple case is going to be favorable for you? The outcome, if favorable for Ripple, will be favorable for you? I'm assuming you feel that way.
It will be favorable.
Or how does that work?
It would be favorable for the discussions had during my litigation, but I've left that behind me now. I am now here. We're having to worry about securities versus tokens, etc. Down here. Okay?
Right.
I told you that the IP covers so much of the industry that everybody else could take that risk for me.
Yeah, you got a honeypot now.
SEC, you worry about tokens and securities.
So can the Veri token be used by your company any longer?
In the U.S.?
Yes.
I would say not safely, because the SEC has not given any specific guidance. The Veri community has requested a no action letter, and that request is made public now. If you go to the Veritasium official Telegram group, you can see it's public. Very well done, lots of case law and precedents, practical argument, no written response. They even did a FOIA request for a response, or at least a recording of the conversation, and the SEC says they can't find it. So, that level of...
They can't find it?
That's what they said. Listen, he's laughing, SEC, it's not me.
Oh, man.
Okay, but that's what was told me. I wash my hands with it. I don't deal with the SEC. I don't want to deal with them. I'm not dealing with securities. Right now, I'm doing intellectual property and intellectual capital. Okay, I am strongly considering allowing the existing Veri tokens that are held by those who did not attack the company or myself personally to be used to discount the access to the IP, which means that if you pay partially in Veri tokens, you get a cheaper access to a licensed IP. Putting this in perspective, let's assume I finish my analysis and Ethereum does infringe. That means part of that gas needs to be paid in Veri tokens. Or so
here we go. See, that's what I'm talking about, Reggie. Come on, man. That's not going to happen.
Really?
No.
Do you think that
because
somehow? Do you think somehow there's some entity operating in the United States that can evade the government? Because if that's the case, nobody should be running from the SEC. They should be putting middle fingers up to the SEC. We're decentralized. You can't touch us. But we all know not a single company has done that, right? Or they go to IRS. Who cares? You can't touch us. Or they go up to a judge, which is more dangerous because judges are much more powerful than the SEC or the IRS. But we all know nobody's putting middle fingers up at the judges, are they? Now,
well,
go back to reality. There is no such thing as full decentralization. There's no such thing as full centralization. Decentralization is here, centralization is there.
right.
Everything rests
It's a
on a
gradient
spectrum.
scale. Right.
Gradient.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I agree.
And to date, there's nobody tough enough, decentralized enough, etc., to say, F you, government. No, that's not how it works. Okay. The government
So this brings up my last point in today's video, and is the point that maybe you can have, and I thought about this, I was talking to my best friend about this the other night. Maybe you can have a DAO started, right?
It's already started. Yeah, okay. There's been a DAO in existence for a while, but that DAO is very specific in use. It's called VeriDAO, and basically they are assisting funding partners for Veritasium. And
partners, what do you mean by that?
Partners who want to use our IP and our technology, intellectual property.
Maybe you should think about starting a DAO that allows to actually run Veritasium.
No, I wouldn't do that. They can come up with their own things and run it, except Veritasium is a very complex company, okay, or product. It was started in 2013. Most people don't see the actual scope of the value to it right now, okay? But the VeriDAO is very important because in finding partners, you have to understand. I gave Ethereum as an example. I'm not finished. I'm not saying Ethereum infringes. I'm just saying it's a project that I'm working on to save time. But the scope of this is massive and immense. And the scope goes beyond, arguably, that of the Satoshi white paper itself. Okay, so what we do is we get professionals who have expertise, software engineers and developers, IP attorneys, international law attorneys, economists, finance guys, financial engineers, etc. They assist, they find entities who may be infringing. They come up with specific proof. Okay, with the specific proof, there is no 10 years of litigation. It is what it is. You have to understand that this is very different because most of these products, many of the projects are open source, so you can see exactly what they do. It's black and white. And those who are not open source, if you understand the patent well enough, you can tell who's infringing just by how their project or product works. Okay, and then we do deals, and all of my deals, the deal gets cheaper as you get closer and closer to the ethos of what the technology was designed to do in the first place, and that's to make the world a more efficient place to do business. To basically create barter system in lieu of a fiat currency system, because now the currency is not necessary. Back in the caveman days, you had a farm, I had a fishery. If I wanted meat and you wanted fish, I would go and bring a cow and I'd bring, 15 barrels of fish, okay? And we would trade, but that became very cumbersome. You have to be pretty strong to lift a cow. So currency was created, and that currency was a proxy for that cow, but a proxy that was accepted by everybody else. So it was a proxy for the fish as well. So instead of trading cows for fish, we use the currency, and we use the currency for everything else, and then trade that for the cow or fish after the fact. I've created a system where you can now use the cow directly as currency and use the fish directly as currency, so you don't need that third step, that tertiary step. Mm-hmm. That's basically what the technology is about. Okay, yeah, and the closer you bring people to that step, the more beneficial the licensing agreement will be.
So, is Veritasium currently operating, or you're kind of on pause and focusing on the patent?
It's operating as a IP distributor. Right now it's doing research. We're having letters go out before the end of the year to some. And then we're going to spend all of next year doing the same. It's going to be a very, very exciting year. For instance, let's suppose no media companies take this story, okay? if you have some entities who decide it's not worth including the notice as a material risk to revenues, well, then that's going to come out in the second quarter or the first quarter. And it's going to come out most likely through Wall Street Journal, Barron's, etc. Okay? Now, I don't wish anybody harm, and I'm willing to work with everybody. Just give me a call, sit down, I'll talk to anybody. Okay, and I'm very, very lenient and very, very negotiable, very much so, much more so than probably practical from a business perspective. But that's simply how I am. I don't need a large amount of money. You're obvious I don't need fame and recognition, because I should have it, and I don't. I could care less. Okay, I have a goal, and my goal is to make this world a better place.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Reggie Middleton, founder of Veritasium. It's been a pleasure having you on, brother. And again, I think you are definitely on the right path with this patent. That was a huge step. I'm actually surprised they even granted it to you.
Well, it's 2 patents. So, 2 patents thus far. I have about a half a dozen, and I'm going to file.
Is this considered a method patent, by the way?
No, this is a utility patent. It covers devices, methods, and systems. It's the most.
Oh, wow. Wow, I didn't know that.
Think about it. Cardano is a device. Are you aware of that?
No.
Ethereum is a device. It uses a virtual machine. A virtual machine is essentially a computer crafted from software.
Right.
Ethereum is marketed as a world computer. The flexibility, the power in this stuff is amazing. What you should ask is, if I was granted a patent in Japan in December of 2020, what was I doing for the past year and a month? It took that long. And I have a staff of analysts, MBAs, forensic accountants, developers, and all that. It took us a year and a month to grasp the breadth and the power and the depth of the patent. And I wrote it. Okay. And I invented it. I didn't write it. I had assistance, of course. So what's going to happen for the next few quarters is going to change the industry. And most people are not going to know unless you look at small media outlets such as yours or myself.
This is crazy.
You scoop CoinDesk. Go tell all your followers. You literally scoop CoinDesk on this.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I know you got another interview coming up after mine's. Just want to again thank you for coming on, guys. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and also go follow Reggie online on YouTube. You can hit him at just type in Reggie Middleton. They'll find you. Or is it Veritasium?
I think it's Reggie Middleton. Everything's my name, so at Reggie Middleton on Twitter, at Reggie Middleton on most of the social media, and type in Reggie Middleton for YouTube. And also go to the Veritasium Telegram group. It's community driven and run, not by me, but the guys are smart, and you can get the story, the real story, from someone other than myself there. That's Veritasium Official on Telegram.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's another kick in the session. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe, and click that bell to see more interviews like this. I'm out of here, people. Holla!
If you want to see more videos and interviews like this from influential people in tech, finance, and sports, subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit the bell to be alerted. And go a step further and join the YouTube and membership area for early releases of videos like this. I'm out of here. Holla!